Hey guys, welcome to the clubhouse. I'm Billy Jackson, and today's review is going to be on Blue Beetle. Okay, now, the only knowledge I have of Blue Beetle, honestly, is from Young Justice Season 2, the animated series that I saw years ago, and I really liked his storyline. So when I saw the trailer for this, I got excited, but I was kind of worried because this is supposed to be the first movie in the new DCU headed up by James Gunn, and it kind of looked like it was going to be one of those CW show type movies. And was it? Yes, it felt just like one of those episodes of TV. This felt like a television episode made into a movie. Unfortunately. Now, it's going to sound like I didn't like this movie. I did. I had a good time watching it, and there's a lot of great moments in this movie. But it suffers from what comic book movies are doing nowadays, in that everything has to be funny. And they tried to make this into like a comedy superhero movie with the family dynamic and everything, and the family had to be funny. And honestly, for me, only about 25% of the jokes landed. And I was kind of getting bored with it, how funny they were trying to be and just weren't. But that being said, I did like the actor, who plays Blue Beetle. I think it's Zolo Monterrique. I'm going to mess up his last name, so sorry about that. But he's the lead in Cobra Kai, and I like him in that show. I think he's an awesome actor from what I've seen of his, performances in that show. I thought he was going to be great in this role. He really nailed it. I thought he was great in this role. But really, he was the only great part of this movie for me. I mean, Susan Sarandon did a good job at being kind of like the head of the evil corporation, villain type. So she did a great role in that, and I love her as an actress. I don't think there's ever been a movie I've seen her in that I didn't like, except for this one. Not that I didn't like the movie. I did like it. I just didn't love it. And it's really got me worried for this new DCU coming up, because this is the first movie in the series of movies that are going to be coming from the DC Universe, headed up by James Gunn. And James Gunn is known to do, funny type movies, and he's done an excellent job with Guardians of the Galaxy and Suicide Squad. I thought he did a really good job. So I just hope that not all of his movies are this kind of funny tone. I want it to get serious. Like Zack Snyder's DCU universe that we're used to, from Man of Steel to, Aquaman. And Aquaman 2 that's coming out in December. It had a more serious tone, which I loved and liked. I've liked all the DCE movies up to now. So when this movie came out, I got really excited because I love James Gunn's take, and I love his directing, and I love what he brings to the table as far as comic book movies go. I thought they did a good job as far as like the family dynamic and making this character seem in a realistic world. I thought they did a good job. The CGI was great. I thought the fight sequences were really good. But in between fight sequences, I really was kind of bored, honestly. They tried to make this family dynamic work, and it did at times, but sometimes it felt forced. Mario Lopez, as the father, it felt like he was just trying too hard to be funny, and he just wasn't. Take my opinion with a grain of salt, guys. All film is subjective, and you might go into this movie loving it. And I didn't hate this movie. I liked it. I had a good time watching it, and the theater around me had a great time watching it. They were laughing and having a good time, but I was just kind of like, I felt like it was just meh. It wasn't terrific. It was just okay. And I guess that's okay, but I really wanted it to be great. And maybe I went in with higher expectations than I should have, but that's what I wanted. I wanted it to be spectacular, and it was just okay. It wasn't bad, so don't get me wrong. It was okay, and I feel like they could have done better if they would have went with a a darker tone to this movie. But no, they had to be lighthearted and fall into the trope that everybody's doing nowadays, that everything has to be friggin' funny. And it really doesn't. There were moments in this movie where it didn't have to be funny, and they tried to be funny, and they just weren't. And I felt the weight of it. And that's another thing. There's this love interest that he has, and they're trying to make chemistry between them, but I didn't feel the chemistry. I felt like it was kind of rushed and forced and unnecessary, really. But they did it, and they tried, and it didn't land with me. But that's okay. You know, we're going to see how James Gunn does with the new DCU with this Superman Legacy movie that's coming out in a couple years. I'm excited about that. Despite what this movie did for me, I'm still excited for what James Gunn's take on the DC universe is going to be. So I'm not going to judge it on this movie alone. But that's what I think, guys. I think it was just okay. Should you rush out to the theater and see it? I say yeah. Give it a chance, because everybody else around me loved it. So maybe it's just me. Maybe because I'm an old man and this kind of a younger character. But this guy's been around for decades, like I said, from the 1940s. So people obviously love him because he's real popular. He's just not a character that I really know much about, but I'm learning about. And I do like the character of Blue Beetle. I just didn't like how this movie was executed. But it's not all about what I think. What do you think? Have you seen Blue Beetle? Do you plan on watching it? Let me know in the comments below. Remember to like my videos and subscribe to my channel. And as always, make yourself happy every day. And the only way to do that is to remember the only thing stopping you is you stopping. Bam!